Have an affair on my friend? Nope. A childhood friend that was the most empathetic, kind guy I've ever known did a hitch in the Navy, went into computers, and played guitar in a band, married a pretty mean girl that liked the idea of a big wedding and musician husband, but had no interest in a marriage. She was her family's golden child, drop-dead gorgeous, and completely narcissistic spoiled. They buy land. He borrows money and has his family build their house to reduce costs. He was paying them back over time while she spent money and socialized, sometimes working a part-time job. Inside of 2 years she's bored and starts an affair, or we think never stopped affairs, but gets caught, and while the empathetic guy tries to work things out, she makes false accusations of domestic abuse and files for divorce, with restraining order keeping him out of the home he and his family built with their own hands. Now keep in mind he's still paying his family back for the home, still ordered to pay for the land, and most of the upkeep/maintenance. He's back in his childhood bedroom while his wife entertains her men in that house. With some research by the lawyer, the family still technically owned the house. Now, my family owned a heavy equipment business, including house/structural movers. Look up house movers to verify what I said. When she went on vacation with her family and new boyfriend, we went in, jacked up the house and drove off with it, repossessed. The structure wasn't covered in the court order, just the mortgaged land. She had legal claim to the land, her name was on the mortgage, but the structure appeared nowhere on the deed, and there was still money owed on most of the materials/labor, so it was simply reposted. Now, the judge wasn't happy at all, but it wasn't illegal to repossess since the land mortgage was the only thing he was court-ordered to pay. She came home to foundation, pipes and wires sticking out of the ground, and a Dada-used yard barn with her personal possessions in it. Now, it wouldn't be nuclear if it stopped there, since the main character has recently passed away. I can tell more. We had a guy we called Big Bob, and the name fits. Everyone probably knows someone that defies jail, death, is a walking demolition crew, and in fact we called him Demolition Man for a while after the movie. Apparently someone put huge beeps smeared with dried whipped cream crust in her possessions found when her dad and friends came to get the rest of her possessions out of the yard barn. There were also extreme insertion corn and bestiality corn magazines, bongs shaped like beeps, etc. Someone used her pictures in the dating magazines, pre-internet, for a paid escort with her phone number. Her parents even had to change their phone numbers a few times. Someone got those change of address cards from the post office and sent her mail around the country. Someone knew exactly when the legal separation happened, and she was supposed to get her own car insurance, but she didn't get that letter. Her car burned down in her workplace parking lot a few days after the legal separation happened, and of course, she didn't get the insurance company notification in the mail, so no insurance. Someone had intimate pictures printed, man's face blacked out on flyers, the printing pointed out that wasn't her husband at the time and stuck them under windshield wipers at her family's church, every place she worked, all around her neighborhood. Cops got involved in that, but they couldn't find where the flyers were printed. Big Bob was an over-the-road truck driver. Everything died down when she finally agreed to let our friend buy her out on the land for a reasonable sum, paying for it twice, and dropped the restraining order. Less than a week after he had clear title, the house showed back up right where it was before. Since it was still on the steel used to move it, all we had to do was stick a truck back under it and take it back, hook it up. This was until she decided to marry a guy from a hard-working family that were doing well. She love-bombed the poor, hard-working sap. He never knew what hit him. She had a bachelorette party with her pretty mean girlfriends at a local recreation lake and rubbed it in her bachelorette party was going to cost more, be better than her wedding to my friend. I think that's what k'd the nuclear revenge. The flyers showed up all over at his bachelor party, at his parents' house with his family, and her bachelorette party got busted for drugs where they found several people in various stages of undress including the bride-to-be and quite a bit of drugs, bunches of alcohol, etc. When that wedding blew up, the wedding dress from the first marriage to our friend showed up on a scarecrow with a pentagram on the front, what looked like blood, paint, on it in her front yard. No one even missed the wedding dress from the first wedding until then. Every woke place, every time she dated someone seriously, etc. the flyers showed back up. She finally gained about 50 to 70 pounds and quit trying to date seriously. She looked like her 70-pound overweight mother but 30 years earlier. She married a fat truck driver eventually. Rip Big Bob, you were one hell of a friend and we are all going to miss you. We will sing the song of your people and raise a glass to you every time we meet. Revenge on a hacker. One day I get an email from a hosting provider telling me that attacks are being launched from our server and I need to look into it. I find that there is indeed a hacker in our server. He was using an app to anonymously control his bot network, among other things. I looked at the app he was using, and discovered that it was an open-source project. I then downloaded the code for this backdoor, modified it to log everything to a file, and replaced his app with my honeypot version. Over the next 6 months I collected every scrap of information I could on this guy. I then used that information to take over many of his online accounts, including his main email account. That was the account where he had registered all of his services to, so I was able to issue password reset requests for everything he owned. I gained control of 6 other email accounts, 24 IRC accounts, his Facebook page, his dating profile, numerous websites, and the backup site he used for his cell phone. I have his phone number, his mom's number, and his girlfriend's number. I know his address, his birthday, the schools he went to, even his favorite foods and music. After I took every single online account he had ever had away from him, I sent a nasty email to his ISP in an effort to extort yet more information from them. In that email I said some very unkind things about the monarch of Indonesia and how I might smear the monarch publicly if I didn't get the information. The hacker disappeared immediately after that. I have looked for him at times over the last 15 years since and he has not resurfaced. The Indonesian lèse majesté laws regarding insults to the monarchy are not to be trifled with. The prison term for such an offense is 15 years. Steal my money, take my house, put me into debt. Now it's time for me to ruin your life. Repost from r/pro-revenge as people said it belongs here. My ex stole from me close to 90,000 euros which I saved up for 9 years, and when I took her to court, I lost due to lack of evidence. At the moment I felt destroyed and lost it all. She even sued me for emotional damages and I had to pay 55,000 euros. So I was forced to sell my house and take a big loan from the bank. I stayed at a friend and helped me find some good lawyers. And we just found an amazing one. In one day he helped me so much and even helped me get the info of who took money from my bank account. Something was wrong. 29th of June a transaction happened in my name. I never made it, I was not in the country at the time. Well, would you look at that? I was ready to get back into court when I found out that she bought my house. Well, I have a safe that I never told her about hidden in the bathroom behind the cabinet. Well, she ruined my life, why not ruin her even more? So I had an accomplice that helped me buy some drugs, worth about 400 euros and used a friend to hide it there. The safe has a 4-digit code, that being 0000, never got to change it to something else. And before taking her to court again I had that same friend who hid the drugs turn her in. It took about a week for the cops to receive a mandate to search the house. They found nothing in the first 2 hours, and they wouldn't if my friend forgot to leave the safe cover open. That 400 euro worth of drugs are equal to a 5,000 euro fine and 12 years of prison. Well, I'm not done yet. Court time again. I had my lawyer get the footage from when the money from the bank was transferred and also I had a document showing that I was not in the country at the time. We also found out the account to which the money was sent to. The name was that of my ex. Well, look how the tables have just turned. My lawyer also demanded payment for emotional damage, all the money that was stolen, the house and also money equivalent to 2 times the debt I had in the bank which is equal to about 140,000 euros. The look on her face when everything came down crashing on her was totally worth it. And on top of the 12 years from drug possession she received an additional 25 years for theft and false testimony. Enjoy it, witch.